Hey guys, today's video I am in my kitchen and I'll be sharing with you guys some recipes and some meals that you can make ahead and freeze to save you some time in the kitchen.
All those days trying to find a place where you'll make them just be alone. All those nights lying by your side, like it's a vibe, feeling it shine under your spotlight.
Welcome back to Ria's World of Ideas. If you are new to my channel, I am Ria, and on my channel I love sharing all the ideas that I find helpful in my life and home, and hopefully you'll find them helpful in your life and home as well. So if you're not a subscriber already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you leave this video, and also don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you're always notified on all the new videos that I put out. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up to let me know that you enjoyed it so that I'm able to bring more videos to you guys in the future that you guys would like. So with all that being said, let's jump into today's video. And today, like I told you guys, I'm gonna be sharing with you guys some meals that you can make ahead and freeze to save you some time in the kitchen later on. You know, back to school is starting up, and whether you are sending your kids off to school or you're doing homeschool with them, back to school time can be one of the most busiest times of the years, especially if you do have your kids in sports. I know a lot of people are still not putting their kids in sports or extracurricular activities, but quite a few people are. So back to school time tends to be the most busiest time of the year because we have to take kids everywhere, or we're helping them with schoolwork at home, or from school. So it's just a busy time, and we need more time in the kitchen, we need less time in the kitchen and more time with our family. So today I'm gonna be sharing with you guys some meals that I have made in the past, that I have prepared them ahead, I have frozen them, and my family loves them. So if you want some meal ideas that you can make ahead and freeze to save you some time in the kitchen, then stay tuned to this video. So the first recipes that I want to share with you guys are some beef recipes, and I always get this 5-pound ground beef kind of log because I'm going to cut it into threes to get kind of like a half a pound each. Now I like to use my ruler so that I can get an equal amount of meat and kind of be as even as possible. And with this 5-pound ground beef meat log, I'm gonna get a little bit more than 1.5 pounds, but that's okay because it's just more meat for my family. So I just use the ruler and I take a Sharpie to mark off the exact measurement so that I know where I need to cut at. And when it comes to cutting this log, I always wash before you cut anything. Wash it. And with the coronavirus, I've been wiping everything down anyway, but I always wipe down the packages on the outside before I cut into it because I don't want to contaminate my meat. And so I like to use my kitchen shears and my knife for this because it makes it real even, straight cut down so that I get an even amount of ground beef for each piece. And then as you see here, I have 3 equal sizes, equal enough to start off with my recipes. So the first thing that I like to do whenever I am doing a recipe with ground beef is I like to break apart and crumble my ground beef before I add any of the ingredients to it, because I find that the ingredients mix better into the ground beef when I separate and break apart the ground beef before I add anything to it. Now the first recipe that I want to share with you guys is a Salisbury steak recipe that I found on the Food Network, and I will link this actual recipe down below for you guys. This recipe is so delicious, so easy to make, and a great freezer meal. So the first thing you'll need to add to it is a 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, 1 tablespoon of ketchup, Now I put 1 teaspoon of mustard because the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of dry mustard, but I don't have any dry mustard, so I did 1 teaspoon of wet mustard. And then you're going to add 4 dashes of Worcestershire sauce, and that is a tongue twister. Next, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of beef bouillon. Now the recipe calls for 1 cube of beef bouillon crumbled. So depending on what you have in your house, you can either use 1 cube of beef bouillon, but I always get this big jar, so I just put 1 tablespoon of the beef bouillon. Next, you're gonna add some salt and pepper, and the recipe doesn't specify how much salt and pepper to add, so I just decided to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt and pepper to the mixture, but you can add as little or as much as you like. And then finally, whenever you're making any type of ground beef mixture, the best tools to mix all these ingredients together is your hands. So definitely clean your hands under your nails. Make sure your hands are really clean and get in there and mix all these ingredients together into the beef. Now after your meat mixture is mixed well, you're gonna now start shaping your patties. Now you can make either 4 to about 6, maybe even 7 or 8 patties with the amount of meat that you have, depending on the size of patties that you want. Now you're gonna see that I'm gonna try my best to kind of make 6 even patties, but it's not going to turn out that way. But that's okay, because sometimes when you have little kids, they don't want a big Salisbury steak patty as big as yours. So if you make some that are small, that's fine, and you can always have 2, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But basically you just break it up into as many pieces as you need and start shaping your Salisbury steak into kind of like an oval shape. So you're going to kind of do like a little oval type of shape with your mixture, and then once you get it kind of like the oval shape that you want, then you'll start scoring lines on the top to kind of make it look like a steak. So once you're done shaping all your patties, you're gonna take them and brown them on both sides in a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil. Now you don't have to fully cook it because, like I said, this is gonna be a freezer meal, so you just have to brown it on both sides. And then in that same pan that you use to brown the patties, that's where you're gonna make the gravy that's gonna go on top of the Salisbury steaks. Now don't worry, I know I didn't show you how to make the gravy on the stovetop, but like I said, I will link the recipe down below and it will show you how to make this gravy. Now if you're making it for your family that night, you will then just put the patties back into this gravy and then keep it on the stovetop, and the gravy will thicken. It will get a little bit thicker, and then you can serve it that night. But because it's going to be a freezer meal, I'm just keeping it as thin as possible, and then putting it over the patties because it's going to thicken as it's in the freezer container in the freezer meal. So I kind of like mine a little bit watery and not too thick before I freeze it. So then you're just going to take aluminum foil and you're going to wrap up your aluminum pan. Now usually I would wait for this to cool down before I wrap this, but for this video I just wanted to wrap it right now to get to my next meals. But I always get the aluminum foil, the heavy duty one, because you're going to use this as a freezer meal, so you know you want to protect your food and make sure it doesn't get no frost burn or anything, or freezer burn or frost burn, whatever you call it. And I always double wrap it. I put 2 layers of foil on it just to, you know, protect the food so that it doesn't get frostbitten. Then I wrote the instructions on top of the foil so that anybody in my family can know how to make this. And I know my handwriting is horrible, guys, so I have it on the bottom of the screen for you guys, the instructions. Now let's move on to the next ground beef freezer meal that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys my homemade meatball recipe that I make when I make my spaghetti and meatballs night. So the first ingredient you're going to add to this meat mixture is 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs. I like to add a mozzarella cheese inside my meatballs, so I always add 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese to my mixture. I also add minced garlic to my meatball mixture, and I just eyeball it. I really can't tell you how much to add because some people like a lot of garlic and some people like only a little bit. So just put as much as you like in your mixture. You'll also need 1 egg, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and pepper, and then you're going to add about a tablespoon of dry parsley flakes that I kind of eyeball and measure in the palm of my hands because I like to rub my hands together to kind of like open up the dry parsley flakes to release the flavors of it. And then you're going to use your hands again to mix all the ingredients with the meat well. So one of the things that I like to use when I'm making meatballs is a mini ice cream scooper, or some people call it a melon ball scooper, but I love using it because you're able to get the same amount of meat every time when you're making a meatball, so that all your meatballs can be the same size. So I just scoop out some meat and I take off the excess from the sides, and then I just roll it in the palm of my hand to make the meatballs. And then I like to bake my meatballs, so I put it on this pan sheet, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bake it at 350 for about 30 minutes in the oven, so that they are already fully cooked for when I need to cook them for my spaghetti, when I need to reheat them in the sauce for my spaghetti night. Once the meatballs were done cooking and they have cooled down, now it's time to put them in a Ziploc bag. And the one I like to use is the double zip freezer bags, so that it can prevent it from having any type of freezer burn. And I just use the Great Value ones. And then I write the instructions on the Ziploc bag itself, and also the date. Again, my handwriting is horrible, so again, I'll have the instructions right here on the screen for you guys. But as you see that as I'm putting them in here, I did not wait for it to cool down, because like I told you guys, I'm doing all these meals today and videoing it for you guys, so I didn't wait for it to cool down. And you will see how the bag will be steaming up, and I don't recommend putting these in right when they're still hot. So definitely wait till the meatballs cool down, and then you can put them in the Ziploc bag, and then fold the Ziploc bag up, and then it's ready to store in your freezer. Okay, so now I'm going to be sharing with you guys another recipe, and it's actually a meatloaf recipe that my family loves. It's something that I came up with, and I call it my barbecue bacon meatloaf. So the first thing you need for this meatloaf is you're going to need 9 pieces of bacon, cooked and crumbled up, 2 eggs lightly beaten, 1/4 of a cup of breadcrumbs, 1/4 a teaspoon of salt and pepper, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, and I'm sorry guys, but I cannot say that word. 1/4 of a cup of your favorite barbecue sauce, and I love using Sweet Baby Ray's hickory and brown sugar, and also the honey one as well. And then you're going to use your hands again to mix all the ingredients with the meat well. So after everything is mixed well, what I like to do is I like to take my meat mixture and put it in a loaf pan, and I'm going to put it to cook with the meatballs at the same temperature at 350 for about 30 minutes. Now the meatballs take 30 minutes to cook all the way through, but the meatloaf needs a little bit more time. But I do not keep it past 30 minutes when I cook it, because I don't want to cook the meatloaf all the way through before I freeze it, because I don't want it to be too tough when I reheat it for my family at night. So I'm just gonna cook it for 30 minutes, the same amount of time as the meatloaf in this loaf pan. Once you take the meatloaf out the oven, you can, if you're using a disposable loaf pan, just put foil on this and kind of use it as a freezer meal like that. But I like to actually take it out the loaf pan and freeze it in a freezer Ziploc bag after I wrap it in foil. I just find that it's better to do it this way, because I feel like when I put it on a regular baking pan, when I go to reheat it, it cooks faster. And so then I'm able to heat it up faster and get it on the table for my family faster if I do it this way. But you can do it either way you want. And I will have the instructions that I had on the bag right here on the screen for you guys, so that you guys can write it on your bag. So you can know the instructions as well. But yeah, I just like to do it this way. Like, you can keep it in a disposable loaf pan if you have it, but I just like to take it out of the loaf pan, wrap it in foil, freeze it in the Ziploc bag, and then just put this actual loaf on a baking pan, and it cooks way faster and reheats way faster that way the night that you're remaking it. Now I'm going to be sharing with you guys my lasagna recipe, which freezes well, so it's perfect for a freezer meal. So the first thing you'll need is some ricotta cheese, and you'll need 15 ounces of ricotta cheese, or you can use 2 cups of cottage cheese if you like cottage cheese, but I love ricotta cheese. You'll need a cup and a half of Italian style cheese, 2 eggs lightly beaten. Then you're going to mix all these ingredients together with a spoon, and this will be your cheese mixture. So for the meat part of my lasagna, I don't like to use ground beef like a lot of people do. I actually like to use ground sausage, and this is the kind that I like. And everybody loves my lasagna because I use ground sausage instead of ground beef. And all I did was I just browned it on the stove, and I put it in this bowl right here. And for this recipe, you're gonna need 2 cans of spaghetti sauce, or 2 jars of spaghetti sauce for this recipe. And I'm gonna share with you guys just in a minute why you need 2. But before I share that with you, I wanna share with you guys this handheld electric can opener that Kitchen Mama sent me to try that I absolutely love. So this is an electric can opener that is easy to use for kids, for people with arthritis, because it doesn't take much strength to use it. And you saw me run my fingers through it, around it, and you saw there was no sharp edges. And so I love that because I can keep this in my kitchen and know that it's safe around my kids. So all you have to do is you just have to lay it flat on any can that you want to open it, and just press that top button. And as you can see, it starts to work its way around the can opener. And honestly, you don't have to hold it. I'm just holding it here, but you really don't have to hold it. It does it by itself. And it works on 2 AA batteries, which I actually love, because the other ones that you buy that you plug into the wall, you kind of have to actually hook it in a right position for the cans to work, and they always have that sharp edges. This one does not, and it also has a magnet to hold it in place as well. And another thing I love about it is that it gives it a nice clean cut that's not sharp, that won't contaminate your food at all. So the way that it cuts it so well that it won't seep into your food and contaminate it with any germs, especially with the coronavirus going around. You don't want that. And as you can see, I'm running my fingers around it, and there's no sharp edges. So it's, like I said, it's perfect for kids to have in the kitchen, and I really love using it. So I was happy they sent it to me to try it for you guys. And anytime a company sends me something, I always ask for a coupon code. So they sent me a coupon code, which is MariaD10, and it will give you 10% off of this electric can opener. And I will leave all the information down below, their website, my coupon code for you guys, so you guys can use it. And actually, guys, this can opener is only $24.88, which is amazing because other ones are more expensive than that. So I just love it, and I hope you guys try it. Now it's time to assemble the lasagna, and I start by putting a layer of the meat sauce on the bottom of the pan. Then I put a layer of uncooked lasagna noodles on top of the meat mixture. And yes, I said uncooked, because this is why I say that I use 2 cans or 2 jars of spaghetti sauce, because at the end of this, after I finish all the layering, you will see that I will use that last can to pour spaghetti sauce on top of the lasagna before I add cheese to the top. And with that, having 2 cans or 2 jars of spaghetti sauce, that's what cooks the noodles within the lasagna, so that you don't have to pre-cook the noodles. So after I do that, I take half of the cheese mixture and I start layering it on top of the uncooked lasagna noodles. Then I go in with another layer of the meat mixture on top of the cheese mixture. Then again with the uncooked noodles. Then the remainder of the cheese mixture. Then the last of the meat mixture. Then the dry noodles again on top one last time. Then I take that second can of spaghetti sauce and now I'm going to pour the can all over the top of the lasagna. And because this lasagna recipe is made with 2 cans, the moisture from the 2 cans basically cooks the noodles itself in the lasagna, which makes it more flavorful and saves you more time because you don't have to pre-boil your lasagna noodles. Then the last step is to top your lasagna with cheese, and I like a lot of cheese. Now before you add the aluminum foil to this pan, you want to add plastic wrap to be a barrier between the cheese and the aluminum foil. But just make note on your aluminum foil that you do have this plastic wrap on it and you want to remove the plastic wrap before you put this pan in the oven for baking. The last freezer meal recipe that I'm going to share with you guys is a pesto tortellini bake. And the first thing that you will need for this freezer meal is 2 jars of your favorite Alfredo sauce. Now this recipe I actually found on a YouTuber's video, Belinda Celine. She did some freezer meals and she wanted to try this. This was like a new recipe for her to try, and she said that she saw the reviews on Pinterest and they were so delicious, and so she wanted to try it. And guys, I've actually already ate this and it is amazing. It tastes so good, you guys. And the fact that the sauce gets to kind of soak into the tortellini while it's frozen, it makes it even more flavorful, and I just love this freezer meal. So this is one that you guys definitely have to try if you like comfort cheesy pasta baked foods. Then you're going to add a 1/2 cup of pesto to the Alfredo sauce. Then you're going to add 2 cups of cooked shredded chicken to the sauce. And for me, it was about 3 boneless chicken thighs that equaled out to 2 cups. But depending on the size of your chicken thighs or your chicken breasts or whatever you're using, it could be about 3 or 4 pieces, or maybe even 2 pieces if they are big chicken breasts. Then you're going to add 1 1/4 cup of Italian style cheese. Now that's the one I use because I love to use Italian style cheese, but you can use 1 cup of mozzarella cheese and 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese because actually that's what the recipe calls for. But I just love using Italian cheese because you get all the cheeses in one. Lastly, you're going to add a pound of cheese tortellini to the mixture. Now, depending on how big your family is, this recipe can actually fill 2 pans for a family of 4 or 1 kind of lasagna pan for a family of 8. So it all depends on the size of your family. So for me, I have a family of 4. So I'm going to have basically I'm going to have 2 meals for 2 different nights. And guys, like I said, this is so delicious. It's so rich. You really don't want a lot. It's great to add with like some salad on the side or some breadsticks. That's what we did. We ate it with some breadsticks and it was so good. Now, as you see, I'm using kind of like a soup ladle kind of spoon to help make it evenly on both pans, because I want to make sure that I get even amount of the mixture on both pans so that I have an even amount for both nights. But this is also, it can be great is if you want to make a meal for yourself and make a meal for a friend. This would be awesome as well. Then you're going to sprinkle some more cheese on the top and also some breadcrumbs, but this is optional. So if you don't want extra cheese on top and you don't want to add like some breadcrumbs for like a crunch on top, then you don't have to. Then you're going to put plastic wrap on these pans as well before you put the aluminum foil on top. So here I wanted to share with you guys kind of how I store my freezer meals once I'm done with them. I put them in this drawer in my freezer that I have. I have like this bottom drawer freezer right here, and you can pull this drawer out, and so that's where I put all my freezer meals, is in this top drawer, so that I know that these are the meals that I need to grab first before I decide to make any other food that's down here. And usually I like to fill this up and then just keep this filled. Well, it's been open so long that it makes that noise. So usually I like to keep this full right here, and then just make enough meals to fill this up, because if I make too much, then it's just gonna go, get frostbitten, and I don't, won't taste as good. So I try to just make enough freezer meals that fit in this drawer right here, and that's about it. And so this is the stuff that I have ready so far for back to school, and I hope I gave you guys some ideas on some freezer meals to make, some meals to make ahead and freeze, so that you can have some more time during this back to school time. And I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye guys. Hey guys, don't forget to click on the picture in the middle of the screen so you can subscribe to my channel and get notifications on all the new videos that I put out. And check out these other 2 videos that I have posted on my channel on either side of my picture. Have a great day.